Hello, it's Brian Smith again with the Daily Influence, and I want to welcome you to our new podcast. Well, this is our fifth episode, so maybe some of you are joining us for the first time and haven't seen how this first week has panned out, but today we're continuing our story about, or our influence about slowing down. And our mission here is to deliver daily doses of positive influence that can help you personally or be shared in your sphere of influence, whatever that is. And again, while not every episode might apply to your unique circumstance, we strive to bring insights and inspiration relevant to all humans' areas of influence that you will at least tackle, if not daily, at least maybe once a week or even once a month in your lives. So our mission here is to be here morning, noon, night, on your coffee breaks, as you go to work, as you come home, and share and embrace the power of influence in our lives together. Today we're continuing with slowing down, subconscious mode. Comfortable focus is actually one of the ways that I describe subconscious mode. It's life's autopilot. One of the most unique stories that I tell about subconscious mode or comfortable focus is a story about my son when I'm sitting outside and I was whittling a piece of wood with a knife in our garage. And Renee was out doing some yard work and just kind of had a relaxing day. And Henry, my son, came up and said, "Can I do that?" Of course, his mom was like, "Yeah, that's not going to work." But I said, "Oh, it's okay. I know knife safety, and I'll teach him." And in the matter of teaching him, my mind started to wander about things like work, or I don't even recall what it was, but I cut the tip of my finger off. You can imagine what that was like for Renee and Henry to watch me cut the tip of my finger off because I thought that I knew exactly what I was going to do and that I could think about things outside of that current moment. Not whittling and teaching my son, but actually whittle, teach my son, and think about one of our businesses that we had going on. Life has a way of blinding us, and it is our environment, it is our subconscious mode that does that. We get so focused on things in our mind that things that are happening in front of us, we're blind to it. Most accidents happen for that reason. Most any mistakes we have happen for that reason, because our minds are one, too many steps ahead of where we are physically. We lose sight of what's here in front of us. If you've been sitting there watching TV and it takes somebody in the room, your spouse, your child, or somebody else, to actually physically touch you and shake you to get you out of that subconscious TV mode, you're so into what's happening right there, your mind is so focused. That happens when we're doing things, not watching TV, sitting at our desks, or even having conversations. How many times have you been part of a conversation and lost track of what was happening because your mind took you somewhere else? There's ways to control it. There are ways to get intentional to help manage these subconscious or comfortable focus moments in our lives when we're on autopilot, and life's autopilot. I use a CPAP, and I travel all the time. I usually fly between the least side is 100,000 miles a year. The most is over 200,000 miles a year. It's a lot of flights. It's a lot of habit of getting my bags ready, getting myself ready to go on these trips. And there was a time once when I forgot my CPAP. I was so into my mind about things going on, probably having to do with the trip, what I was going to do on the trip, if I was going to be working on the plane or Maybe I was giving a speech or talking somewhere. I was thinking about that topic and I forgot my CPAP. And that might not seem like a big deal, except I don't sleep well without my CPAP. And I've had a CPAP for a long time. It is something that is part of my life day in and day out. I start my day taking it off and I end my day putting it on. It's not like it's not something that is a well grounded habit in my life and in my mind, yet I forgot it. I had to start making lists. That came from Renee. Make a list, even to do regular things that I do every time I travel. I have to make a list. And it's important. Sometimes it's better and easier to be intentional, even about those parts of our lives where we think, oh, we got this. Um, I don't need any help getting that done. I don't need any help remembering. Well, yeah, we do. Life gets in the way. Our subconscious mode gets in the way. Our comfortable focus, our autopilot gets in the way. So make a list, write things down, practice slowing down. When we get intentional and we make lists, and we get into the present moment of doing that, we are practicing slowing down. And it reinforces that that's important in our lives and it helps us to become intentional more often. Digression is another part of this that we have to deal with. Um, have you ever been part of a conversation and you lose track? We're digressing in our mind. Have you ever started sharing something with somebody, telling a story, and how you just digress and you go off in a direction that takes you away from whatever the story started with? You might even say, I forgot what we were talking about. I forgot what the point of this conversation was. That digression is our mind going too fast. It's our mind thinking one, too many steps ahead of our mouth, ahead of our present moment. Context matters. And when we focus on context and we stay focused on context, we're focusing on the present. When we engage in that context and we engage with people in the environment, it keeps us more present. It helps us to slow down. It helps us to stay in the moment. It helps us to not digress. If you find yourself doing that, have your team interrupt you, remind you that you're digressing. Don't take it as an insult. Take it as a way of controlling this comfortable focus, this subconscious mode, and the fact that some of us, when we know what we're talking about, can get one, two, or many steps ahead of ourselves. Review your work too. We do this in our writing. I don't know how many times I've written out things for the team and they hand it back to me and they say, what were you trying to say here? Well, I knew in context what I was trying to say, and for some reason, in my way of delivering that communication, I got ahead of myself and I left out key parts of the context that needed to be there for people to understand what I was doing. So slow down, review your work before you give it. It always helps to look at what you've written before you send it off. You might even notice little things like you cut off words. You've missed a block of a sentence. You might have missed one to many words in a sentence or even in a paragraph because your mind was so far ahead of you and your typing was behind that you skipped over things that you actually thought about but never reached the keyboard or the pen. So make sure your mind doesn't get in front of your writing or your talking. The act of reviewing is another way of slowing down. It's a way of practicing slowing down. And it helps us to get intentional. It helps us to have a present mind in a present moment. It sheds that comfortable focus, that life's autopilot, and it takes us out of that subconscious mode. One of the things we're going to like to do here on the last day, this is Friday, so the last day of the week, is have a little recap of the daily influence of where we've been. If you've missed one of our episodes this week, you might want to go back. You might hear which one you want to go back to. So we talked about earlier in the week, episode 1, what it is to be individual, what our definition of that is. And singularly, I'm individual, but when I'm with groups of people, one to many people. We become individual when we are working towards a common goal. And then we talked about our influence and what influence actually means. That we began influencing before we were born. When our parents found out that we were going to be born, we were already influencing their lives, and we will continue to influence throughout our entire life till the very end, and even after for some of us. And that influence matters no matter what you do, where you're at, or how you're doing it. Your influence matters. Then we got into the biggest chapter of our first book, Individual Influence, Find the I in Team, which is slow down. It was so big we had to divide it into many different sections. And it talks about being intentional and thinking forward and understanding our environmental urgencies and practicing being intentional, and how going fast can put us into our subconscious mode and create gaps, blind spots, and errors in our life to the point where you could even hurt yourself or hurt others. Next week, we're going to tackle more of slowing down and talk about having better focus and how to remain present and stay present, how to practice being present in this context of slowing down to go faster. Thank you for joining us with the Daily Influence. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope that we'll see you again and you'll join us again next week as we continue to bring positive daily influence into your life and give you some ideas on how you can be more positive, engage more positivity, and understand and influence people in the best positive way for yourself. Thanks again.